All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Tales at 2, again here at Cedar Run. I'm wearing a mic today, so if at some point you guys can't hear me, please let me know and I will unplug it and go back to echoey room. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of time to join, because I know it takes a little time to join the live feed. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's been joining us. If there's any new folks out there, welcome. We appreciate you checking out Tales at 2 today. Hopefully you enjoy it and you'll join us again. So we are going to be talking today about different signs of animals. So this is only going to be part 1. We're going to be talking about some other stuff in the coming weeks. But I wanted to start with something kind of fun on this Friday afternoon when it's really hot outside, and hopefully you all are in watching me instead. So as I'm going, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask your questions. I'm going to be taking some comments from you guys too, so feel free to put your comments down below if you want to. If you're watching this on replay, you feel free to ask questions as well, and we'll check back at the feed. So today's animal sign that we're going to be talking about is scat. So does anyone have an idea of what scat is? Is there anybody on there? Is the question. 4 people, 5 people. All right. So scat is the fancy or nice word for animal poo, right? So scat is something that you're finding out on the trail and you're noticing that an animal may have been there recently, right? So it's kind of a gross thing, but it's something that you can learn about. You can learn what animals are in your area by finding scat. You can also learn what those animals are eating. So anyone that's joining us that has joined us previously, you may have seen, I guess it was last week or the week before, we did owl pellets, right? We investigated owl pellets, which is an owl's throw up pretty much. And you're able to see what the owl was able to eat, right? This is kind of the same thing. You're able to see maybe the different animals that certain animals have eaten. You can see maybe the berries and the plants that they've eaten too, because just like the owls, not every mammal is able to digest all the things that they eat. And you guys may know that too. Certain things that humans eat, we're not so great at digesting, and it may actually come out in our poo. Or it may change the color of the poo, right? Or the scat. So we're going to be checking out some replica scat today. So don't be concerned. It's not real poo. I didn't go out. If I touch it, don't be grossed out. It's all made of like a rubbery material. So the first one I want to show you guys is this guy. And you can kind of get an idea of how large these are by my fingers in here, or these little petri dishes that they're going to be in. So this one is an animal that I'm sure all of you guys have seen before. They're pretty tiny. But their poo is very small and pellet-like, so it's not this whole size usually. That's just how we're able to keep the replica scat together. So they make tiny little pellets, and these guys mostly eat plants, but they can eat other animals and insects too. Does anyone have a guess on what scat this one might be? It's teeny tiny. It's one of our little friends out in the forest. It's my buddy the chipmunk. So chipmunks are eating primarily different types of plants, but they are going to eat small insects and sometimes even things as large as frogs and toads. So this guy is going to have a pretty small poo, but he is going to go to the restroom a whole lot because he's eating constantly throughout the day. If anybody has any chipmunks near them, they probably have seen them eating all the time or running around, right, up the trees. So as we're going through, I'm going to talk about the things that these guys eat. Right? Some of these animals might be herbivores, that means they only eat plants. Some might be omnivores, like our friend the chipmunk, that means they eat plants and they eat other animals. And some might be carnivores, so that means they're only eating meat. Right? In the case of the friends that only eat meat, they may sometimes even have bones and fur and feathers in their scat as well. All right, so our first one is my friend the chipmunk. Next one up, and these are all animals from our area. But this one does not live in New Jersey. You can find these in Pennsylvania, but not in New Jersey. And they have very round scat, little tiny pile. Sort of looks like, if anyone knows, the deer scat, but it's not the deer. Any ideas? All right, so this one, I said he doesn't live in New Jersey, but he does live nearby. This is our friend the porcupine. So porcupines are living in the forest, but they're herbivores. They're only eating plants. So a lot of times an animal that only eats plants, an herbivore, are going to have kind of little pellet-like poo like this. So this is my friend the porcupine. So he's eating all different kinds of plants. He's eating tree bark. He's eating things like that. All right, next up. larger than our chipmunk, a little bit smaller than our porcupine. You guys have probably seen this guy in your backyard too. He's mostly a plant eater as well, but like the chipmunk, sometimes eats insects and other small animals. Nobody's guessing? All right, this is my friend, the squirrel. So the squirrel has the pellet-like poo too. He eats different nuts and seeds and berries, but he may eat insects, he may eat eggs, he may also eat frogs, just like our friend, the chipmunk. So we usually see them eating seeds, but they're actually eating a pretty varied diet, a pretty big range of different things. All right, any questions from you guys so far? Nothing? You're all being quiet, watching me show poo. All right, if you're joining late, this is replica scat. This is fake poo. So scat is a word for animal poo. All right, so my next one looks a little like that porcupine that we just saw. This is another herbivore, another plant eater. And you guys, if you live nearby, even if you live in the city, you may have some of this animal hanging out around where you live. All right, this is my friends, the white-tailed deer. So these guys are eating all different kinds of leaves, all different kinds of shoots and grasses and things like that. So just like I said with our porcupine, herbivores usually have that pellety shaped poop. All right, next one. This one's kind of weird. And this animal does live around by us, but he's usually sort of shy. A lot of people have never seen one, or sometimes never even heard of one. He spends most of his time in the water, so usually his poo is sort of a greenish color. He's eating a lot of different plants. He's another guy, similar to our chipmunk and our squirrel. He's the muskrat. So muskrats are also omnivores. They're eating lots of aquatic vegetation, a lot of plants in the water. But they're also eating frogs and fish and mussels if they live in an area where that kind of thing is. So they have sort of a greenish tinge to their scat. All right, next one. Now this one, you guys maybe think looks a little like dog or cat poo, right? He is sort of related to those guys. And this is our friend, the red fox. So because they're related to dogs, right, they have a sort of dog-shaped poo. So these guys are omnivores too. They're eating plants and other animals, but they have a larger poo because they're a larger animal. Am I boring you all with scat? I hope not. Feel free to ask questions, guys.
We have one question.
Okay.
Is the gamey smelling tarry scat bear scat? My dog loves to roll in it.
That one I don't know. I'd have to see it, but if it's kind of large, it could be bear scat, depending on where you live. Dogs do like to roll in the poo, unfortunately. Sometimes their own, sometimes other animals, but I'd have to see it to confirm. All right, so this one looks sort of similar to that fox scat, but it's a little more clumpy and bumpy. This is a guy that's about the same size as the fox. But he's out in the nighttime. It's not cooperating. It's slippery. All right, so this is our friend, the raccoon. So the raccoons are another omnivore. They're eating a lot of other animals. They're eating mice and insects and lizards and frogs and eggs and birds. But they do eat berries and fungus and nuts and seeds. They're kind of used to eating a lot of different things. So everyone always says raccoons eat trash, but they eat a lot of different things out in the wild. Trash is just convenient for them when they live near humans. All right. My friend Zach, who's behind the camera, was able to guess this one. So this is another mammal, but he does live in the water. Much larger than our friend the muskrat. Another rodent-y type guy. All right. This is my buddy, the beaver. So beavers are another herbivore, so it's got another roundish shape to their scat. So these guys will eat lots of different aquatic plants. They'll eat lilies and flowers that grow in the water too. And of course, we know they're eating tree bark and things like that. So all plants, herbivore for that front. All right, we've got a couple more left. This one's the biggest one I'm going to be showing you guys today. So we saw the fox, we saw the raccoon. This one is an animal that we don't have in New Jersey either, but his cousin lives nearby, the coyote. This one is our friend, the wolf. So the coyote scat would look very similar. So if you guys live in an area where the coyotes are going to be, it's going to look very similar. A lot of times you can see the things they ate inside, different berries that they weren't able to digest. So these guys are going to be carnivores in the case of the wolf, but the coyote sometimes will eat other things too. All right, so he's going to have a whole lot of meat in his diet. So he usually has very large scat. All right, 2 more left. This one you guys may have seen. Sometimes people have this animal as a pet, so they're definitely going to see these round little globules if you have this kind of animal as a pet. This is the Cottontail, the rabbit. So another herbivore, so it's got another pellet like I was talking about, a round shape to its scat. So it's eating all types of plants, but gross thing with these guys, sometimes they eat their own scat. I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't want to do that. All right, last one. So all of the ones that I've showed you guys so far are mammals, right? They're the furry guys. This one is actually an amphibian scat, which is kind of cool because you usually don't think of amphibian poo being around anywhere, right? You don't think of any amphibians that might have poo? Nothing? All right. Quiet group today. They're just listening to me talk about scat. All right, this is my friend, the frog. So frogs, as crazy as it seems, are carnivores. They're not eating berries, they're not eating leaves, they're just eating other animals and insects. So their poo is going to have that elongated shape, like a lot of the other carnivores and omnivores that we were seeing. So if you guys kind of check out again, all of our friends with the pellety shaped poo, these guys are all going to be herbivores, right? Guys that are eating mostly plants. They all have a similar shape to their scat. Then some of our friends that are omnivores, they're going to have sort of an oblong shape to their scat. And then usually the guys that eat a lot of meat, carnivores, are going to have a more oblong or elongated scat. So you might not always be able to figure out exactly which animal it is, but you can probably figure out what sort of things they're going to be eating by the shapes that they have. So if you're going to find a more ovally or round shape, probably a plant eater. If you're going to find a little bit longer shape, that guy might be an omnivore. And then usually our friends that are carnivores or omnivores that eat lots of meat are going to have something like this. Gross, right? I know. So that is my scat talk. Do we have any questions from anyone?
Just the one about the dog.
Okay. That's it.
And we have another fan of scat who takes pictures of scat while hiking to positive ID them.
That is a good thing to do because a lot of times when you see it, you might not be able to figure it out the right way. So if you do take a photo, you can kind of go back and research the different things that you might found. We found last year with our summer camp kids, we found some coyote scat by Cedar Run's pavilion. And at first we weren't sure, but it was pretty large. It was like a good chunk like this. It had lots of fur and stuff in it. So like I said, they're eating a lot of meat, so we knew we ate another animal. So it's kind of neat to find. Some people think it's gross, but it's kind of neat to find because you know what animals are around. You also know what those animals are eating, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to finish up for today, guys. If you are watching this later, watching on replay, feel free to ask any questions down below. And hopefully we will get to see you all soon in person. But for right now, our nature center is still closed, but our hiking trails and our animal housing area and our wildlife hospital are still open. So if you want to come out and have a nice hike